time you waiting for? I don't think I'll make it to break.
That's fine.
All rise. This court is now open. Please be seated.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, before the court is the matter of Alemany versus Edwin Alemany. That's 2013-11163. The defendant is present with his counsel, Joseph Keller, Jeffrey Denner, and Michelle Hubbard. The Commonwealth is represented by Assistant District Attorney John Pappas. Zachary Hillman, the jury is not present. Counsel.
We approach that way.
Yes.
sorry. Public.
Sir, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give the court and the court is now a hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you, sir. Maybe sit.
So sit, watch your step. Please give me one step, sir.
Good morning, sir. Could you state and spell your name?
My name is Jose Centeno, Centeno.
And Mr. Centeno, what is your relationship, if any, to this case?
Mr. Alemany is my brother-in-law.
And with regard to your attendance at the trial of this case, were you here last Friday?
Yes, sir.
Which I believe was probably the May 29th of this year, yes?
Yes, sir.
And were you in the courtroom for the entire afternoon?
That's correct.
And where were you seated in the courtroom?
From where I'm sitting, the far right side of the courtroom.
So it would be fair to say you were sitting adjacent to the back door in the right side of the courtroom from where you're facing, correct?
Yes.
And whom were you with, if anyone?
A couple of our relatives in our family.
And who would that have been?
Mr. Alemany's parents. While the witness was here making her statements, I observed more than one juror, but specifically one juror, trying to make eye contact with her, trying to smile with her, and I guess empathize in a way that I don't think it was appropriate.
Well, apart from trying to smile or trying to empathize, which perhaps is in someone's head, did you see any actions that occurred between either of the two?
Yes, there was some...
And what would that have been?
There was some gestures of the juror trying to get the contact of the victim.
And when you say gestures, what are you talking about?
Like trying to catch her attention in a way, like smiling with her, making sure she made eye contact with her, and etc.
And do you remember what you told counsel as we were, would it be fair to say, strike that, would it be fair to say that when, when counsel...
Centeno.
Centeno.
Thank you, sir. You are Edwin Alemany's brother-in-law?
Correct.
And how long have you known Mr. Alemany for?
15 years.
You're married to his sister, sir?
We're not married, but we're together for 15
And how
years.
long, before you were how long have you been married for?
We're not married. We've been together for 15 years.
15 years, okay. And how well do you know Edwin Alemany's brother, Jose Alemany?
As long as 15 years as well. Pretty good.
And fair to say during the course of this trial you've been sitting with Jose Alemany in this courtroom watching the proceedings from time to time?
Not at all. Mr. Alemany hasn't been present.
Okay. Sir, do you have any specialized training in lip reading?
No, sir.
Okay. As far as your communications to counsel, last Friday, didn't you tell him it was someone in the back row that you believed that there was some type of contact?
The person switched seats.
The juror switched seats?
Correct.
Okay. And when you say the juror switched seats, was that at a time, sir, when, if you can follow my question, when there were some proceedings, then there was a break, and then the proceedings started again and the jurors switched seats?
Correct.
Okay. And as far as the switching seats go, sir, originally this juror was in the back row and then wound up in the front row when we broke for the afternoon on Friday?
Correct.
And when you say you were watching the proceedings, obviously, sir, given your relationship with Mr. Alemany, you have an interest in the outcome of the case?
Yes.
Okay. Fair to say that you don't want to see an outcome that would be adverse to Mr. Alemany, your brother-in-law, correct? Is that fair to say?
I just want a fair trial.
As we all do. So you're certain that the juror that you're talking about today in this hearing moved seats from the back row to the front row?
Correct.
Now, when you say that you believe that there was some type of effort at communication, that's your subjective belief, isn't that right?
That is my belief, sir. And if my
That's what I'm asking you. That's your belief.
That's my belief.
Okay. That's all I'm asking you. But you can't say for a fact that there was any actual contact. You just believe that there was an effort.
Some contact. When they all were dismissed for the end of the day, she walked right by the witness, Valentine, and she smiled and waved her hand at her.
Okay, and that was in the courtroom, correct?
That was in the courtroom.
And let me ask you this. Fair to say that at the end of Ms. Valentine's testimony, she left the witness stand, correct?
Correct.
Did you see her walk out of the courtroom?
She didn't walk out. She sat in the front row behind you, sir.
Okay, and it's at that point that you said you saw this contact?
Correct.
Okay. I don't have any further questions for the witness.
Nothing on redirect, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Centeno. Ms. Hubbard, can you tell me what you said on the sidebar as far as what you observed?
Yes, as the witness was testifying, I observed her lips moving. She looked in the direction of me or Edwin, and it appeared to say watch or watch out, and kind of glare. And I noticed the fourth juror in the front. And I noticed the fourth juror in the front, so maybe understood that that was inappropriate, and that's all I observed, Your Honor.
So you said Ms. Centeno, Ms. Valentine,
Mouthed.
during her testimony, during a lull in it, mouthed something to you?
Yes, Your Honor. Watch or watch out. I couldn't read it.
Let me ask Mr. Denner what you want me to do with this information.
I want you, Your Honor, respectfully to assess it. If you feel it rises to the level of needing to address the jury, I would ask you to do so.
Address the jury in what way?
The juror. I guess what I would...
Which juror?
I think we would have to determine who the dark-haired juror is who's sitting in the front row. It would either seat number 3 or 4, apparently.
The front row is seat 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
I'm sorry, well, chair 3 or 4, not necessarily juror number 3 or 3 or 4 from the left.
Number 1 is in the top.
Right. 1, 2,
So
3.
we're talking about the front row.
Front row, occupying the 3rd or 4th seat from the left.
Point to the chair, Mr. Denner. My front row is the row closest to me.
Okay.
And there's a back row.
I was talking about this row, and from what I
Okay.
understood,
Yes.
it would have been one of these 2 jurors from what I've heard. As I said, I did not observe anything.
Okay, in those seats, seats 11 and 12. So there's the,
Well, it might be 10 and 11. I'm not sure, because that would be the 3rd seat, number 10, and the 4th seat, number 11, I think.
the only one that fits that demographic that you're talking about is the juror. There's a juror in seat 10.
Your Honor, you asked me a question of what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to use your best judgment, your experience to determine what to do.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Passes, what do you think I should do?
Given the testimony, I'm at a loss as the court's beginning of the trial. Who testified, I would make this offer to the court that I conducted the direct examination of Ms. Ballantyne. I saw no such exchange or attempted exchange, even remotely approaching what Ms. Hubbard described for the court. In an abundance of caution, Your Honor, if we can isolate what Ms. Hubbard and the witness were referring to one of the 2 jurors in the front row, I would ask in an abundance of caution that you just inquire of them. I think that would be the appropriate
This
thing.
is probably easier. Ms. Hubbard, which juror was it? Point to the seat for me.
It would have been, the juror turned around, looked away. It would have been the attorney sitting here and potentially this juror here, but I saw her turn away when she was here.
But the juror that you said, the attorney who was an attorney.
Number 11, yes.
Number 10, I believe.
Or number
Number 10 is the juror, is the attorney. You think that she was, looked at you to say basically, this shouldn't be going on?
It turned away. But a few jurors looked this way, and the gentleman with the glasses and the light blue shirt looked directly towards counsel also.
Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the jurors down individually and I'm going to ask them if there was any communication with Ms. Ballantyne. I mean, the fact that Mr. Centeno says that there's sympathetic looks in trying to get someone's sympathetic gaze is of no consequence. He can't read their minds. He also is wrong. The jurors don't change seats, so I find him not credible in that respect. But out of caution, I'm going to individually voir dire the jurors. We'll bring them down and we'll sit them back in the chairs and get going. I'm going to ask them whether or not there's any contact with Ms. Ballantyne, unspoken, and remind them of the obligation just to rely upon the testimony at trial and not any other contact.
Excuse me, Your Honor. If there was any mumbling, my mic is totally separate. No one can hear it but me, but I would pick up any mumbling.
All right, you didn't hear any mumbling?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, let's bring them down.
All the jurors are coming in.
They'll all come down. Let's just take them number 1. Decide to put them in the jury box after I voir dire them. If there's any additional information, we'll take it from there.
Are we going to do that at the sidebar?
Yes.